Good, okay. Hi, my name is Fatuma, and today I'm going to be presenting a paper titled Sexual Arousal Patterns of Autogynephilic Male Crossdressers, published by Hu, Miller, Rosenthal, and Bailey in 2016 in the Archives of Sexual Behavior. In this week's reading, we covered something called transvestic fetishism, which describes a sexual fetish in which people are aroused by dressing as the opposite sex. There was one really interesting topic that wasn't covered so much in the reading called autogynephilia, which is an extreme form of transvestic fetishism in which men are aroused by the idea of being a woman. Autogynephilia can manifest itself in cross-dressing or adopting female characteristics or activities such as shaving one's legs or speaking in a high-pitched voice. Autogynephilia is very difficult to assess objectively because it's inwardly rather than outwardly focused. There are a lot of misconceptions on autogynephilia because it's very poorly understood. Many people believe autogynephilia means homosexuality or transgenderism. But it's important to understand that autogynephilia, transgenderism, and homosexuality are all very distinct from one another, but they can overlap. One does not mean the other. Ray Blanchard is a prominent sexologist who pioneered the field of autogynephilic research. He came up with the core autogynephilic scale, which is an 8-item scale that measures a man's sexual arousal in concurrence with having fantasies of being a woman. It asks questions such as, have you ever become sexually aroused while picturing yourself having a nude female body? Yes or no. Or are you sexually aroused picturing yourself with nude female breasts? Yes or no. In 1992, he published a really important study that used self-reporting surveys to show that autogynephilic men had very similar patterns of sexual attraction to heterosexual men and distinctly different patterns of sexual attraction to homosexual men. This led Blanchard to discuss autogynephilia as a form of misdirected gynephilia, meaning these men are attracted to women, gynephilia, but it's misdirected in that they're also attracted to the idea of themselves as women. It's really important to know that autogynephilia is a very controversial topic, and it became especially controversial after the 2003 release of J. Michael Bailey's book, The Man Who Would Be Queen. This book received a lot of criticism from trans activists as well as members of the scientific community who said that it fetishizes trans women and also said that autogynephilia just doesn't have enough scientific evidence to support it. Before I continue on my presentation on my paper, I'd like to introduce the topic of andromorphophilia, or GAMP. And this refers to men who are attracted to she-males, which are natal males who have female characteristics such as breasts, while retaining male characteristics such as a penis. Recent studies have shown that autogynephilia and andromorphophilia are actually related, and I'll talk about this later on in the presentation. The paper that I'll be talking about today had two major aims. The first was to better understand the sexual arousal patterns of autogynephilic men in comparison to heterosexual, homosexual, and GAMP men. The second is to assess autogynephilic male arousal to she-male stimuli. Participants for the study were recruited using internet ads, storefront ads, and nightclub ads that catered to male crossdressers in the Chicago area. Heterosexual, homosexual, and andromorphophilic men were recruited using ads on internet dating websites that catered to their specific sexual interest, also in the Chicago area. All men recruited for the study had to fill out the core autogynephilic scale, and unsurprisingly, the male crossdressers scored significantly higher than all the other groups on this scale. Of the 93 men recruited for this study, 23% were homosexual, 22% heterosexual, 29% autogynephilic, and 26% andromorphophilic. every man viewed 2 neutral films, which included views of nature and calming music, and 7 erotic films, which included either male, she-male, or female erotic pornographic stimuli. Subjective arousal was then measured after every single clip on a scale of 0 to 10, with 0 meaning not sexually aroused at all, and 10 meaning extremely sexually aroused. Genital arousal was measured using an indium gallium strain gauge that measures changes in penile circumference due to genital arousal. So here we see the results of the study. On the y-axis, we have genital arousal measured by changes in penile circumference. And on the x-axis, there's the 3 different types of pornographic stimuli that were viewed. This is the homosexual patterns. Again, unsurprising, they had high genital arousal to male stimuli, low genital arousal to female stimuli. In heterosexual men, we essentially see the opposite pattern, high sexual arousal to female stimuli, low genital arousal to male stimuli. This is the graph for andromorphophilic men, who had very similar patterns to heterosexuals, high female, low male. However, they had very high genital arousal to she-male stimuli. Again, not very interesting, but here we see the autogynephilic patterns of genital arousal, also similar to andromorphophilic and heterosexual men having high female, low male. But what's really interesting here is that they had significantly higher arousal to she-male stimuli when compared to heterosexual or homosexual men. These results are essentially mirrored in the subjective arousal. And this gives us a really, really interesting topic and interesting data. The fact that autogynephilic men had similar patterns of attraction as heterosexual men confirms the misdirected gynephilia hypothesis. However, the fact that they had such high arousal to she-male stimuli is really confusing because the exact reasons for this are unknown. The authors of this study thought that this may be due to a concept known as partial autogynephilia, which refers to a man being sexually aroused by the idea of being only partially a woman. And the reason why this might explain why autogynephilic men were attracted to she-male stimuli is because she-males are considered maybe partial women and they have their ideal or their fantasized form. There's not a lot of data on autogynephilic research. However, this hypothesis of partial autogynephilia provides some kind of further research for this field. So while it's important to know that autogynephilia is a very controversial field, this study was great in that it highlights the complexities in the relationship between sexual orientation and gender identity and shows us just how diverse and how much variety there is in sexual identity. So, thank you.